Thank you, Cary, for joining me today on the Maverick Indian podcast. I would like to warmly welcome you. I know it's morning time over there in the Pacific Standard Time that you are in. Thank you for taking out time. I would love to start our conversation today with your vast experience in the marketing domain, right? And your journey, how it has evolved from an agency side. At you've been an ex-CIO at Group M previously, and in between you were also with Ford, right? And how it has transitioned to now working at a gaming marketing startup company, Frameplay that is. Why don't we kickstart and throw some light on your vast career, and then we move forward in our conversation?
Thank you. Yes, I was very blessed to have been at Group M for so long. I was at Team Detroit working on the digital marketing strategy and operations, from very early 2007 to 2010. And now it's called GTB, if you're familiar with the agency network. And then I became the head of digital media operations for Mindshare North America, and then rolled into the chief innovation officer for Group M up until 2018. So I had an incredible opportunity there to help lots of clients, Ford Motor Company, Kimberly-Clark, Target, American Express, lots of different companies. And then I transitioned into a role at Ford Direct, which is a joint venture owned by Ford Motor Company and the dealers, which really allowed me to work with an incredible team and incredible clients, both on the client side and the dealer side, and be on Ford land and really understand what happens when right after the car rolls off the lot, where it goes and how does a dealer connect with the consumer in a more meaningful way, and how does Ford Motor Company build the brand, and how do you connect all of those dots. So that was an amazing journey. But in 2020, I had the opportunity to join Frameplay, an intrinsic in-game ad tech company. And not only did I work to create the marketing discipline at the company, I also built the business intelligence and analytics discipline, the ad operations discipline, the early product strategy discipline, hired the CPO, onboarded him, built that team, helped him build the team, and the like. So I was lucky enough to actually have, multiple hats, as one does in a startup, in a gaming industry that's very dynamic, fast-paced, but needed some change, needed the ability to connect to consumers in more meaningful ways with advertising. And so I was lucky enough to join at that time. Now I'm a strategic advisor for the company, and I'm looking for my next role, but I certainly am still very passionate about the company and still work with the team from an advisory perspective to what's going on and advocate for the industry in general.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing your experience, right? And what I would love to understand is possibly the biggest question in the boardroom today, which is the role of AI, right? Two sides of the coin over there is regarding your current domain, how AI is impacting gaming marketing, and broadly how AI is today and where is it taking us moving forward. I mean, that's something that marketers are wondering, right? Where is this going to go? Is this wave going to go, right? And how marketers today should be looking at addressing the artificial intelligence and the role it is playing in building those consumer connections and utilizing it to the benefit of the business.
Awesome. There's definitely a lot to unpack there. And let's talk first about just overall marketing and then how it impacts gaming marketing, because the two really shouldn't be disconnected. It's both early in the game related to how AI, can be applied for the benefit of not just the gaming industry overall, but to other sectors. But also there's been work that's already been done in this, capability for quite some time, but it's been what I would say is point solutions. And that's okay. Those are either rolled out tests or their experiment where brands were ready and willing to test a certain function or feature as part of their overall journey to be a great marketer. So we're early, but there's some early case studies and tests. Now, one of the agencies is all in and, working as a platform. They're calling themselves a platform company. The other one is the position overall is that they're working with their clients and they're applying it, across their company, of course, but with their client's business in mind. And you can go look and figure out which one is proposing the strategy. And I won't go into that further. Where AI can help, I think if you've read anything about the topic, you've understood that AI can help with creative production. It can help with streamlining processes. It can help with analyzing large sets of information and summarizing large sets of information, synthesizing information during the process of developing strategy, creating content, thinking about negotiating with companies or analyzing programmatic streams if you're on the media side and investing, and then reading, how well did the campaign resonate, et cetera. So basically, work in every single function from the beginning to the end when you're trying to connect with consumers in more meaningful ways. So the whole industry is being disrupted, and it's fun as an innovation person, a transformation person, to think about that and think about the people, process, tools, and data that AI will touch and how businesses will evolve accordingly to create value in the end. If you're an agency, to create value for your customer. If you're a brand, to create value for your end customer. If you're a partner, an ad tech partner, to create value for agencies and brands. So it's very exciting. When it comes to games and the gaming marketplace, there's been a couple of interesting things that have happened over the last, few years. Games, historically have been incredible performance marketers. I mean, no doubt when it comes to understanding, especially when it comes to the mobile games, the app-based economy, understanding mobile, understanding the nuance of, marketing from a performance marketer perspective in the mobile space. They've been really, leading edge marketers there to drive user acquisition. Certainly, obviously, the game should stand for itself. And, when people love to play the games, they'll play them for a long time. But, certainly retention of those players beyond just gameplay. How do you keep them excited, involved, et cetera? So really incredible performance marketers. The challenge is obviously with cookie deprecation, with privacy, changes in the marketplace. The games marketing role has changed and is changing to something different. And understanding how to navigate that will require heavy data and different kinds of analysis, different kinds of partnership, and different kinds of advertising strategies in order to, bring more consumers to play their games. So they're not different than the general marketplace, and they have to evolve, the same, I would say.
Interesting perspective, Cary. Do you think agencies have started leveraging GPT-4 today, building up or thinking about building their own GPT-4 application on top of the current AI infra and that is available by OpenAI? Do you think that is happening, or they are thinking about it, or they are largely relying on the big tech to build the applications for them to use?
Yes. The answer is yes. I think they're doing all of the above, but the bigger the business, the bigger the risk kind of thing, even though that's not true. The agencies and any business in general who are using AI, technologies today are also talking about governance of how to use them. Whether you're using another company to help you develop capabilities on top of AI, or you're, right in the mix with GPT, you still have to have governance in order to understand, trademark, having human lens on top of the content to make sure there's no hallucination in the products that you're getting out of that, understanding, the information that you're putting in, even if it's slightly changed, where do you draw the line in terms of ownership? So the governance part of this is certainly early, but I'm not an expert on governance when it comes to AI, but there's certainly a lot of discussions and a lot more discussions to be had, related to the utilization of it. I personally have been having fun playing around with lots of different tools and, have a personal goal with any new things that I post on my LinkedIn that the creative will be created by an AI creative tool, which the last 2 times that I've posted, I've created, wonderful creative, and it's fun and it's easy and it does not replace creatives, but I'm not a professional creative, so it's easy for me. But when a creative, looks at using these tools, they can use it for inspiration, but the human lens should not be replaced. The human lens, needs to be there.
I'm going to switch the topic, something that you're also passionate about. I also do understand that you also are a co-founder of Web3 Marketing Association. Why don't you talk to me about Web3 and how the trend has evolved from NFT and NFT marketplaces to where it is headed? Because a lot have been spoken about it, and how NFTs have seen upsurge previously, that whole thing is now being termed as fad from the marketing fraternity perspective. Where do you think that is going, and what is the future that lies ahead?
Thank you. Yes, I'm still passionate about all of the opportunities in the future of Web3. And I think it's important to understand that marketing fads are episodic, even including analog television. So I don't worry too much about things going in and out as long as I understand if there's an undercurrent of movement and success, interest, and development. And certainly there is an absolute undercurrent of all those things in all of the concepts surrounding, whether you call it Web3, whether you call it emerging technologies. Let's not get hung up too much on the wording, but the concepts of blockchain-based trust system, digital items that you can port from one place to another, or you can personalize your own digital self beyond the way you can do it today. Avatar creation, currencies that transcend geographic markets, high elevated experience, digital marketplace experience, transcending boundaries, all of those concepts I'm really interested in. And that's, a fun passion to think about. I advise a company that's in the Web3 emerging tech elevated experience marketplace called Metropolis, which I think is just an amazing example of all the things that I just explained. So I think that the fad idea is certainly something related to, marketers wanting to put dollars into the marketplace to drive results short term. And there's real pressure, economic pressure, global instability. We all can name several of those things that are happening around the world that are incredibly sad and unfortunate, that are causing marketers to really think about a short-term game in many examples. So a fad is understandable, but the long-term currents are definitely here to stay, and they're definitely growing, and I'm excited about it. So Web3 Marketing Association allows us to continue that dialogue, to continue the work about educating marketers, connecting and networking with marketers across regions, not just in one country or another country, which is part of our mission.
Right, Cary. Cary, I know you've been a keen observant of emerging markets and what kind of opportunity lies in markets like India. What is that single driving force that you think is going to take the world marketing economy moving forward, and why there is an important role a market like India is holding, and where does it hold today, and how we can leverage the opportunity that we have at the current moment?
Yeah, I think I mentioned when I met you and, a while ago that I was a student. I was still learning about the culture and the opportunity in India, but just in other markets where there's just an incredible pool of innovative talent. And India is definitely a top market for that. Excuse me. I am not an expert on India at all, but I'm excited about opportunities to know people like you and other people in the tech and innovation space from India that are really, I value what they're building, and I value what they're doing. And there's a hard thing when people, don't work together. They think, oh, I have to go to an office every day and that's how we build trust. Like you said, is there one thing? I think it's the willingness and the ability to build trust when you're not always physically present. And understanding how to do that, we started to do that with COVID. COVID helped a lot. I think this concept of building trust and understanding how to build trust across borders, whether you're working with India or other countries like India that has innovative, exceptional talent, is the thing to bring us forward in the future. So I'm excited about, everybody that I meet. You've introduced me to a few people. And I think that it's just, if we can break down those walls and figure out how to build trust across borders, I think that we can do more and more together.
Right, Cary. I would love to have your perspective on what does being a maverick means to you and having a maverick mindset. Would you call yourself a maverick? In case if you do, what does it mean for you as such?
Yeah. Perfect. So I was thinking about this. This was such a good question. When I think about a maverick, it's someone who is independent, unconventional, and thinks and behaves differently than others. I would say I'm unconventional for sure. I view myself as an authentic transformational leader, a servant leader as well. So in that case, I'm not fully a maverick in that yes, I'm independent, but I really also try to build trust, and I don't try to be disruptive. In order to truly be a maverick, you need to have a clear perspective, relentless drive, legitimately knowledgeable, meaning be hard work, do your homework, show up, ask for advice, all of those things. And if you don't do those things and you just see yourself as a maverick without doing those things, but also being a servant leader, you're just simply disruptive. And then you can't really build trust with people and create the change that you're trying to create. So I've learned that over many, many transformational, initiatives that I've worked on, and that certainly I am a different thinker, but not truly independent, because that would be disruptive. So I don't know if you were looking for more, but that's really the perspective about being a maverick.
Right. It's an interesting perspective and quite a thoughtful perspective, let me put it this way. Would you like to share who would be some of those maverick voices and or figures that have influenced your thinking and mindset over the past years in the professional life?
Certainly, I think it starts when you're young. So I had some family members that were very influential to, kind of help and guide my thinking. And I rely on friends and family even to this day as my closest inner circle, and, lucky to have that. So it goes without saying. The early days of when my career changed was when I taught myself paid and organic search. I was an early search marketer. And so at that time, the obvious answer was, Larry and Sergey Brin, as they were creating Google. I was a student of, what they were building. And certainly I was a user of their product in the early days of advertising. I was actually on their first, advisory board. So in 2007. So I followed, what they were doing, what Tim Westegren was doing at Pandora, obviously, at Facebook when Zuckerberg first, launched Facebook. So I was an early student of, all of those platforms, and, followed them quite intently. And so they heavily influenced my idea of being able to use technology to solve problems. But technology is not perfect. And so you needed the human element, the human leadership element, in order to, know how to use technology, but also how to work with people. And so the other people that I've, followed along the way was Susie Ryder from YouTube, and her leadership in the marketplace and helping people understand, the early days of digital video and how do you, think about digital video in a more meaningful way. So I certainly valued her and her leadership as well. When it came to the agency side of the world, I worked for Erwin Gottlieb, Rob Norman, John Montgomery. They were incredibly helpful in terms of just guiding me on, and Phil Cowdell, on how to, navigate the industry. But I a person that really helped me was Nadine McHugh. She happened to be the managing director of Mindshare New York at the time, where she saw something in me I didn't see myself. She helped me open up to what I could have imagined. And so I always thank her for helping me, with that. Sometimes you need somebody to see more in you than you see yourself. So certainly Nadine was an incredible help as well. And then from a today's standpoint, just fast forward, there's a few people. Suresh Balaji, he's now at Lloyd's in London. Dave Wallace, my co-founders at the Web3 Marketing Association, greatly value their partnership, and all the rest of the Web3 Marketing Association, people that we all work to just trust and help each other through the way. And then just overall the industry, folks that are supporting the initiatives, especially in the last 3 years at the IAB, and elevating the gaming industry in the conversation. Zoe Soon and Cheryl and David have been incredibly helpful as well. So I could go on. I'm just very thankful with, trusted relationships that I work with. I typically will take something from everybody, but that was the, answer in the early days. It was the early, digital OGs, because, I was there.
Right, Cary. In your opinion, what societal or industry norms as of today, in today's time, that you think should be challenged or redefined? I mean, coming from an agency side or marketing side, whichever side that you want to speak for, what status quo needs to be challenged? And where do you think we need to redesign our thinking as of today's consumers, where they are headed, and how they are experiencing products and brands?
Thank you. That's such a great question, because I think about this time period very similarly to the time period 2007 to 2010. So, and I've authored something about this, but I'll kind of balance out what I've already written about. During that time, we were in a global recession, and there was an exceptional explosion of digital capabilities. It was definitely a very big change. You had, the iPhone launching, you had Facebook launching, you had, Pandora and the music industry, starting to be disrupted. So everything was, being challenged or disrupted. And during that time, the challenge. The biggest challenge was, this is where I'll draw the comparison to today. The biggest challenge was making the change without disrupting the quarter by quarter or the year by year revenue that companies have to report right now. And when you think about that, you might have somebody come in as a Maverick or as a transformation agent, and they go to think about the future or the vision of the change or the disruption to be had, but they may overlook the current need to make this quarter's numbers. And there is an absolute balance that needs to happen, with that, especially in today's economic environment. So when I think about what needs to change, the industries that need to change, they all need to change. There's no industry that is kind of able to stay status quo. Even the ones that grew up in the digital environment, even those that, were launched after 2010, they also need to evolve, because in many cases, they could be using old tech, or at least, antiquated tech, especially related to the AI conversation that we spoke about. So I would say all of them need to change. And it's just the task at hand is about how to change, keeping an eye on the current need to make the current fiscal year while making those significant moves to, future-proof the business. And that's a whole nother podcast, but that's my answer. I'm not going to point out one industry, because they all have to change.
Right, Cary. I'm going to ask you about one of the framework and methodology that you're very passionate about, which is play to win. Why don't you share some perspective? What do you think this play to win is, and how can an individual, professional, in whichever field that they want to apply and lead to a successful model, if we were to implement it, how should we look at play to win, if you may?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure I give the proper credit. So Playing to Win is a strategy book, toolkit, framework that was written by A.G. Lafley, Roger Martin, and Jennifer Riel. So you can look that up later. And when I was first introduced to this and I've I've my MBA and looked at a lot of different frameworks, but this one in particular, it just really resonated with me. And the reason it did is because it can simply be applied to small businesses or very large businesses. And the framework goes a little bit like this, and I apologize if I, kind of butcher it, but it thinks about what your winning aspiration is as a company, whether you're one person or 10,000 people. What's your winning aspiration, and being very, very clear. And talk a bit about a difference between a winning aspiration at a company and maybe your mission or vision statement. Because in the book and in the framework, it inspired me to really, really think about how do you come to the conclusion of what your winning aspiration is. And frankly, you can do quite a bit of work just to solve that and be really disciplined about refining that winning aspiration to make sure that you can have unique value in the marketplace. And a lot of times people run to the tactical, or they just to make sure that they're doing things and they're feeling good about doing things that move their initiative or company or innovation along. But taking the time to really, really discuss, debate where authentically a company can have a winning aspiration is incredibly important. So the framework then says, okay, now that you have your winning aspiration, where are you going to play and how are you going to win? Meaning, geographies, audiences, types of products, types of services. Where are you going to play? How are you going to win? What are the methodologies you're going to use to win? And then it gets really fun and interesting because you think about what systems you need and what capabilities you need in order to get those things done. And I've actually applied this to, startup businesses behind the scenes to get, founders or founding teams to think about this and getting it onto one slide if you can. What's your winning aspiration? Where are you going to play? How are you going to win? What management systems do you need? And, what capabilities do you need in order to get that done? So once you get that, that's your playbook. And then you look at it. You shouldn't look at it every day necessarily, although you can keep yourself on track. But you should look at it, every quarter or every half quarter or every year to say, is this still our winning aspiration? It should be if you did your homework and wrote it, correctly. But where are you going to play? How are you going to win? Maybe you take a market off because you still haven't, gotten that first beachhead market, solved. And then what systems do you need and what capabilities do you need? That's your tech roadmap. That's your people roadmap. That's your marketing roadmap. And that's your playbook. And so I find for very little investment, buy the book, I get no credit for, at all for the book sales. You can have a pretty good framework for, strategic planning in your company.
Right, Cary. If you have to really pick one word to describe the future of immersive storytelling, what would that be, and the reason behind that, if I may?
Immersive storytelling. The future of immersive storytelling is authentic. In a world where, especially we spoke about technology capabilities, AI capabilities, etc. Authentic storytelling will be the storytelling that wins. There are a lot of headwinds that can cause distrust for a brand. And, but if you are consistently authentic with whatever you're doing, even if it's you as a person or a brand as a product or a service and everything in between, if you are consistently authentic and that represents your brand, you will build trust and you will build value, and people will see when you are being real, and when there's fakes and other things happening in the marketplace that just don't sound like you or just don't sound like the product, it'll be more easily understood as being fake. So I would say the word is authentic.
Profound indeed. Cary, it was quite an insightful conversation. Let me truly, truly thank you for being on this episode with me and possibly sharing whatever best in short you can share from your experiences. And it was lovely to have you and have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. And as hopefully you already know, I appreciate you so much. And I'm just excited for, everything that you're working on, initiatives and projects that you're working on and how you're lifting up other people in your community is pretty great.
Thank you so much, Cary. Wonderful to have you. Thank you.